Hi, this is Sandy. We've been working on Expressionism and Realism and Surrealism and trying to understand the difference between all of those three things. There's all kinds of different subspecies in each of those. So what is Expressionism can also be Surrealism. And so we're going to do Surrealism today. And that's working with Salvador Dali. So get ready to wind your clock up. For this lesson, we're going to need a stiff board paper. You can use cardboard, you can use poster board, but you don't want something that is like typing paper or computer paper because it just won't hold up to paints. You're going to need your paint brushes, an eraser, a pencil, and you're going to need some acrylic paint. You're going to need brown, some blue, some white, maybe some yellow, and a little bit of red or orange. Okay, let's get started. Okay, I'm ready to start. This is a painting done by Salvador Dali. It's called The Persistence of Memory. He painted it in 1931. See the clocks? They were a symbol to him of space and time. But let's think about history and what's going on in the world that's going to reflect space and time changing. Before the 1900s, space and time was very firm. You have a very firm watch, a very firm clock. That's the time everywhere. But Albert Einstein came along, and he discovered the theory of special relativity. And it had to do with space and time. And all of a sudden, space or time was kind of moving. It wasn't a fixed thing anymore. So Salvador Dali put that in his art. And his clocks and watches, and he did a number of different pieces with these clock faces in them. So that's what we're going to do. And while we're doing that, I'm going to talk about basically Surrealism. Okay, we are going to paint in this, but first we've got to draw what we're going to do. I'm going to refer to this picture, and I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to do this one little section. So let's get that drawn on in pencil. I have a piece of firm paper. I've got my pencil, I've got my eraser, and I've even got my brushes over here for when I'm ready to paint. Okay, I'm going to refer to the picture of The Persistence of Memory. I thought I like this tree here. I like the desk. Look at that perspective. You can almost see it. And then maybe the vanishing point might be way up here, but those lines are all going to have to be pretty straight because his were. Surrealism Surrealism is when our reality is seen through the eyes of somebody else's perception. So remember we talked about perception and vanishing points. Well, his perception of this picture of time changed. You still have time, but it isn't a flat clock anymore. So he's filtering our ideas through what he sees. Before he was a surrealist painter, Salvador Dali actually studied art, and he studied with the Renaissance masters, and they were so precise in their drawing of figures and everything. So to see him start drawing something like this, people were kind of worried about him. Okay, so I'm going to get my first desk on here. It's going to come in here, and I could get a ruler or a straight edge to make sure I get this straight. And I just did. Okay. It's going off at an angle. And this is going off at an angle. But really, this is going to come straight over here. Like that. Be parallel to the bottom. This is going to come down like this. So we have a desk bottom. And this has to follow this same line here, over here. Okay, I've got a desk. Then he's got a tree up here, kind of a weird looking tree. We're going to put it up there, and I'm going to make it go all the way up to here. It isn't planted in the desk, but it's on the desk, and it has feet. So we're going to give him some feet. Then we've got a fork-like thing to hold one of our clocks. Like that, but it can't be one line, it's got to be two to give it some form. Okay, there we go. Okay, we've got your lines in. Then he's got a clock that melts on it. So we can take and make an ellipse here. And it was like it's melting over here. So here's the other end. And then it has an edge. And it has a wind. A long time ago, these had winders. This would wind the clock. And how do we know it's up there? Got to erase our tree going through it. It's kind of curved. Then we've got, it's almost like a clock face, and this would be a long hand. So we've got our clock in. That's this clock right here. Let's go ahead and put the clock that's on the desk that seems to be melting away. It's still a half circle. And it gets down here and it gets kind of wavy. And I'm going to leave that little line in there. And up at the top here, well, first of all, we're going to have an edge here. And in the middle, we're going to have a winder. And that's almost a half circle there too. Okay, then we've got the numbers, the 12. He's got a 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5. You can see the 6. You can see the 7. You can't see the 8, the 9, the 10, and the 11. But you can see the clock hands. I'm going to put the center there, but I'm not going to draw in the hands right now. Okay. There's another clock over here. It's a pretty orange one. And it hasn't started to change yet. So we're going to put it down here. It's a circle. And let's give it some perspective lines down there. Up here is the winder. And it's just got decorations on it. All right, there's another clock laying down over here. It's on something, and I'm sure that means, because it looks like an elephant almost. But we're not going to do an elephant, we're just going to do a rock. We could go ahead and we can change almost anything we want to. And what we see is it's sitting on top of the rock, like this, actually like this. And then it melts down and then it falls on the ground over there. So we've got that in there, and we're going to make that the rock. Okay, and this has got the winder there. And this has the 12 on a 1 and a 2 and a 3. And then this has a hand, but I'm not going to draw the hand. Okay, now that's the basic things on his painting. Now we've got to put in the horizon line. It comes back here. And it's got an island like rocks over here. And then this is water. And this is the horizon line on the water. Okay. We think we've got everything on here. Now it's time to get out our acrylic paints. Okay, now we're going to work on the sky. The sky is yellow towards the horizon. It's blue at the top. But if you know what happens if you mix yellow and blue. That's right, you're going to get green, and we don't want a green sky. But we are going to start it off with some yellow at the bottom. And I'm going to put some yellow down here. That's pretty yellow. And I'm going to mix it with a lot of white. Do you see how I'm mixing it on the palette, on the paper? I'm not doing it on my palette. There we go, in the horizon, and it gets more white in it as it goes up. Want to be pretty neat so I don't go into my tree. Notice I'm just using white. I've got a strip of white right here. Can you see that strip of white? You're going to need it when you try to add blue into the sky. Okay, halfway up the sky, I'm stopping. Now I got to do the same thing over on the other side. Remember, we put in our clocks, so we've got to be careful not to put our hands in it. Okay, so we've got Salvador Dali, born early 1900s. And in the 19th century, at that time, we had clocks. Everything was run by the clock. And if you didn't have a watch on, it was too bad, because there was no phone to get the time off of it. You had to know what time it was. It isn't like your alarm clocks on your phone now, that if you're supposed to be someplace at a certain time, you set your alarm on your phone and it'll tell you. They didn't have that. So everything was run by these clocks. All of the railroads, all of the travel. Okay, I'm up to white again, going around the tree. And then along comes Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein, he was one of those people who the schools told his mother that to take him home. He was too dumb to learn, but he was a genius. And so he would sit and ponder things. He'd think about them and think about them, about reality. And he'd see things that weren't consistent with what we were being taught. So he was going to figure out how it was different and why it was different. Okay, I want you to notice, I've got some water over here, but I'm not going to use it on my brush. Because if I get this paint too wet, it ends up to be watercolor, and I don't want watercolor. So I'm not pulling, I'm just squeezing on them. And then I loosen it up and let the paint brush out. Okay, now we've got to get a blue sky, and I'm going to go with the light blue sky. And I'm going to start up here with full blue, and I'm going to add some white. Not going to forget that this tree's got to be there. And I'm going to add some more white. This does wash off, which is a good thing because my tabletop isn't covered. So if you're working on a tabletop, your mom might want you to work on a piece of newspaper or some kind of paper to protect her table. Okay, so let's get back to Salvador Dali. So he goes off to art school in Spain, and he meets all kinds of strange people that they're different. And he comes up with these ideas. And so at that time, people were doing Expressionism. We did Expressionism the other day, didn't we? I'm trying to go around the tree, but if I miss it, I can fix it because the tree is going to be darker. But I don't want to lose my tree completely. I could put this on with a palette knife too. I don't even need a brush to put it on. Okay, about done with the sky. Let's move down. Let's move down here to the mountain. And we're going to use our browns and our yellows and our oranges. I'm going to start with a darker brown. And right about here, while I put this in the way I want it, we're going to speed up the video and you can watch. Okay. Now we're back into real time. And we're going to do the water. I'm going to do a darker water right at the back of it, or at the base of it, where it's closest to us. I'm going to put a line of dark in there on both sides of the tree. Okay, now I'm going to add some white, just white to my brush. going to brush it over here. And let that white get lighter and lighter. Add some more white. I needed just a little bit of blue to come up in there, into that other area. So I brushed it one way and then the other. There we go. Now we need to work on this area here, underneath the tree, behind all of this. Once again, I'm going to work quiet and we're going to speed it up. I'm using browns and some purples when I want it to get real dark. So here goes the quiet. Okay, back to real time. Let's talk about what I did. I put purple down at the bottom because I wanted it to look darker. And the purple isn't going to change the brown, the tone of the brown. It's just going to enhance the brown. I put white up here because if you look at your picture, you will see this is lighter up here. Now it's time to do the desk. I'm doing this stuff underneath because I don't want to have to paint around something I've taken a lot of time on it. So I'm going to do the desk in this lighter color here. And I'm going to enhance it with the brown, and I might even go into the purple if I want to get a shadow around here. Okay, we're going to speed it up while I do the desk. Okay, I have my tree. I have all of this on. I've got to be real careful not to set my hand in it so that it will get all over the place. I got to go back to my picture. And I've got to see the different colors in this. We're going to do this one first, sort of orange. Okay, there's my paint. So what's the difference between what we did, the Expressionism, and Surrealism? Is there a difference? They're both subcategories but of Surrealism. But Surrealism has a category all its own. It's a category all its own, like Expressionism. Expressionism was a distortion of somebody's feelings. And surrealism is reality. Time is a reality filtered through somebody's perception. So Albert Einstein perceived that time was relative to what you were doing, where you were at a certain place in time. And he thought that time travel was possible. So all of a sudden, everybody's perception of time changed. Salvador Dali used art to show that. He could draw, he could paint, he could do amazing things. And people will look at this and they'll say, oh, he just didn't know how to draw, which totally isn't true. Because doing this, he released his unconscious mind, what was in the background. Okay, if you'll notice, this brush is way too big to fit in this little spot here, so I'm going to change my brush. So a group of artists got together. They didn't literally get together, but they formed surrealism groups where they would meet together to discuss surrealism. Okay, so we've got this drawn out. And now we can decorate the inside of this. But I'm going to do that later. I'm not going to decorate that one. Okay, the next one, if you'll notice, it isn't totally white. And I am going to have to get rid of all the color in this brush. So I am rinsing it out, but I'm going to dry it really well. So the surrealists, they want you to think, but they want you to display your thoughts, basically. And they want to affect what you think about things. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of white and a little bit of blue now. And this time I am going to kind of mix it on the palette. So Dali was really into dreams. That was his unconscious mind. And his dreams would have funny shapes, funny ideas, and he'd use those in his painting. He dreamed about a burning giraffe. So, guess what's in his paintings? He has a painting of a burning giraffe. Okay, the clock on the desk was a little bit darker blue than the clock down here. So I'm going to now mix some white into it so I get two different shades. Now, artists that paint weren't the only ones who are surrealists. There's surrealism in literature also. If you've ever heard the statement, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. That's a surrealist statement. It's two things together that are contrasting. We have contrasting things in here. We've got a clock that is not supposed to be bending, and then we've got a clock that is bending. So the ideas are opposite, they're contrasting. We're using contrasting colors, purple and yellow, brown, and I'm putting all of those colors in there, but here's yellow or blue and orange. Those are all contrasting ideas, they're contrasting colors. Okay, this one, the outside of it is a light tan, so I'm going to use that, but I've got to use a smaller brush and go around. But how am I going to make it come off of the table? Because my table's the same color. What do you think? How am I going to get you to be able to see that this is not the table? Any ideas? On the top of the watch, I'm going to put a highlight. And under the watch, I'm going to put a shadow. But I'm not there yet. I could have added some orange into this, and it would have worked. The one thing I want to make sure when I'm painting this is that I get all of the area filled in. I don't want to leave the white of the canvas or the paper. Okay, I'm going to put some white color up here. I'm going to wipe that off, and I'm going to get some of that purple color. I could use blue also. And right up here where I've got a little bit of a shadow, I'm going to put it in there. Wiped off my brush. Get some of this tan again. And blend the line. There we go. We've got to let that dry. I'm going to write the numbers in with a pen. Okay, let's look at this clock over here. It's got the same, it's almost got a greenish cast to it. So I'm going to use a different color blue. And I'm not going to switch to my smaller brush yet. So some blue and some white. Just to make it look a little bit different than that one. That's a little bit darker down there. Okay, now we've got a rock underneath there. And that rock is going to be the dark brown and some more purple and maybe some blue. And be very careful when I go around this clock. See how I had purple underneath there from the start? Now I can see my rock in the front. There's a word that they use to describe a surrealism. It's called a juxtaposition. Really a hard word. It's Juxta, and then spell position. And a juxtaposition just means that it's opposites, contrasting. A little bit of light on this end. Make it look like a rock. You know, and a little bit of dark just to give it some interest. Maybe I'll use this blue. Remember, in the actual painting, he had an animal, dead animal underneath this. So we're just making it not quite what he had. I think I want a shadow underneath this clock right there. There we go. Okay, now we're going to work on the tree. If you look at the picture, it's a lot of browns, some white, and some of the blues in it too. So we're going to fast time this one as I do the tree. When I get down to here, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so it has big enough feet to stand on. I'm not going to go through my clock. I'm going to do a 3D effect by just making it a little bit darker right there. So let's do the tree. Okay, now we're back to real time, and let's do this clock up here. It's done in the same blues, but it's got a silver, and so does this. So silver, we can get silver by using white and black mixed, or white and purple mix with a little bit of blue, and we'll just try to mess around with the colors we have to get silver. Okay, I got silver out of that and I wasn't even trying. So we need a lot of that color. So let's go ahead and mix it on our palette. I'm using white and a little bit, just a very little bit of purple. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this brown. And then a little bit of this blue. It looks a lavender color. Then I'm going to go back to the white. And there we go. Sort of a silver. I'm going to put more white in it though. Okay. I have to touch that tree up. Now for the front edge, I'm going to use plain white. I need a little bit of a shadow underneath that. Turn my painting. And the top of that timepiece is down here. Okay, now I got to touch the tree up where I touched it. There we go. I have a feeling we are about done. Okay. Those are dry enough. Now I'm going to get a Sharpie. It's got to have a nice fine point. And I'm going to write the hands. I'm going to draw the hands. We know that this one was in the middle and it was pointing up here. And this one was down here, pointing that way. And this was 12. 1. Remember that the clock still looks the same. The numbers are in the position as though it were going around the clock. That was 3. That was 2. That's all you see of the 4, the 5, the 6, and the 7, and we didn't see anything else. It might have had little tick marks. Going around it. We wouldn't see those. We might see these. We wouldn't see any of the others. Okay. Oh, I forgot to paint the top of that one. So I got to go back and catch that one. We didn't paint the whole edge of it. That was a grayish color. Let's use this bluish. With maybe a little bit of brown in it. Okay, got it on there. Now this is 12 o'clock up here. And all you could see is that hand pointing up. And you just see little bits and pieces of the number. We don't see any of the bottom numbers. On this one, we see that hand and it got real long. That isn't quite dry on mine. And you don't see much here. So we are going to put that in there. All right. Now, for this one, it's still wet. What you can do is you can take another Sharpie of another color, probably orange or red. I've got a pink one. And after it's dry, you can put your decoration on it. See, because mine isn't dry, it isn't wanting to stick. That's about all I'm going to be able to get on here because it isn't dry. What you can do, though, is you can put with the Sharpie the little tick marks on the timer piece. But make sure yours is dry before you do any of that. Okay, there's our picture. We're finished with Salvador Dali. You guys have the advantage of stopping this video. When I fast forward it, this painting will take you at least 2 hours. But when you're done, you get to sign it. Okay, talk to you next time.